Get a hold of a judge, and I'm sure they'll do their best for you there, Inzi.
And we're into a game, and yes, both of them have sleeves, so we have hope for them.
You don't have to have sleeves to be good
People can.
players.
A lot of people are not seeing the pairings for round 6, which is odd because now that I've refreshed, I can't see the pairings for round 6. That seems unreasonable. Is Mike there?
Yeah, that's really weird too. Round 6 disappeared, but I still have a copy of the other one.
It's
Print
because
screen that.
it looks like the one result got backed out, maybe? Or is it there?
Shouldn't have been. Well,
Now I see it again.
round 6 is up. Okay, well, just make sure that things are. Is Golden Saucer Guy still playing against? Because if this has changed pairings, that would be. Says he's playing against Kalassar. He's still playing against Kalassar. Okay, so if their match is the same, everyone's match should be the same.
Yeah, so far as I can tell, the matches are still the same.
Yeah, I still see Cyrus and Strife, Infamous Neo and Kendrill. I looked at those. Flip and Papa, Deck and Peace. Okay, so that's a lot of matches that are the same. Okay, so we will continue on. Can everyone see the new pairings that have been updated? It's up now. Road Zoo double check. Now they just showed. We can get Mike in the call group here. Let's go back to the old call group. Bloop.
And we're back.
Yeah, JJ just needs to join the call, but that'll let Mike back in here.
Everything's working now.
Yeah, everything's working now. Do we know what happened?
It looks like maybe someone tried to change one of the ties that I forced because apparently the two players who were still playing after 10 minutes didn't know there was a tie. And it's like you've played 5 turns, you're 1-1, it's a tie.
Oh, okay.
So everything should be fine and happening.
Okay.
So while happening, people may not be happy with me. That's the way of being judged.
Yeah. In addition, did you see Inzi has a comment? So
Drop
In
somehow.
chat,
yeah, look up on it. Look up at him. It says he thinks he got dropped from the tournament. So just take a look at that. We're gonna go back to our featured match, which is progressing very splendidly with 2 shards apiece. Kalassar has played 2 ruby. Golden Saucer Guy playing that Sapphire Wild, which I love so dearly. It's my favorite shard combination.
for the record, Inzi filled out the drop reform and used the correct keyword, so I'm not sure what he's talking about.
Okay, you might want to message him or have him message you in game. But that does seem odd. All right, so up to 3 resources for Golden Saucer Guy. Welcome back, JJ. We switched calls real quick so we can get Mike back in there.
Sure.
That's a strange play. Kalassar on turn 3, not playing a shard, and instead just playing a Crackling Bolt in Golden Saucer Guy's face.
He's just going face, yep.
Has he done a couple of those? How is Golden Saucer Guy on 11? I clearly missed something here. That would be 3 Crackling Bolts then?
Right, I missed it as well, but I believe that is what happened because we don't have any blood in play yet for
Yeah, I mean, there's
champion,
nothing
so.
else that would be dealing 6 damage that way. No troops have been played as far as I can tell. Like, Golden Saucer Guy's graveyard is empty. So 3 Crackling Bolts in a row, and now...
Rage Fire.
Oh, okay. Did somebody... Okay, that's good. I'm glad they let me know. So Eldritch Dreamer hits the board. Now, when I play Sapphire Wild, and this is just me, I know that the draw card is super powerful in the Eldritch Dreamer, but I run Spell Shield Eldritch Dreamers.
Just to have a win con that can be
it's
interactive.
Such a good win con, too. There's another Crackling Bolt. Gozig just dealing damage like to the face.
Yeah, he is not messing around. He is just bringing. He's not even going to interact with the troops at all. Must have at least another burn spell and probably several in hand if he's making that play. I wonder if this is a deck that is similar to the one that Hacky played earlier with just a different champion.
Mm.
Like, seems like it could be that we would see a Heart of Fire out of that deck, possibly.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of what you would expect here. Can two Eldritch Dreamers get there? Like, because I feel like if you're playing Sapphire, you have either verdicts or counter magics. Like you don't avoid that possibility, right?
Right.
So if one of those Dreamers draws one of those, that should switch this board around immensely. But Gozik's getting a point of damage in there, leaving GSG on 6. So another Crackling Bolt putting him on 3. Does he have...
He shows 3 of the Crackling Bolts.
And a
now
burn.
Does he have another burn?
Oh, no.
Oh, not yet.
Oh, maybe he's slow rolling it.
Oh, there's no way you slow roll
You don't
that.
slow roll it into Sapphire. Into like your Blood Ruby opponent, maybe. The ultimate scumbag slow roll. So there's the War Master Fuzzico to get a little extra damage on those Eldritch Dreamers. Because the race is on now.
It's possible if he's playing Mastery of Time, possibly. Like with the card draw,
yeah, I mean,
that's a possible thing.
Yeah, we
that
saw
he's
one of the
doing
cards
here.
there. His card blocker doesn't see the side. He passes turn, and he says good game because the Gozig power is actually going to be enough. Didn't draw a win condition there.
Yep.
Burn, 3 Crackling Bolts, a couple of Gozigs, and I guess a Ragefire or 2.
Yeah, I think it was 2 Rage Fires that he played to get the 6.
That was crazy. Looking at his main deck, like, stuff and things could have changed there. That was silly.
Yeah, we've seen at least one other deck too where, I mean, Hacky had a similar one, and just going direct to the face here has been able to produce some wins. These guys are both 4-1, I believe, so it's working out pretty well for him. I say it may be that he's just saying, hey, you know what? I'm just going to go straight to you. I'm going to ignore all of your troops, and if you can't be fast enough, it's not going to matter because I'm going to win the race anyway. And I feel like that's probably a pretty good place to be against the Wild Sapphire deck, because usually those tend to be on the slower side and have a harder time racing. It's probably a matchup that GoldenSaucerGuy is going to struggle with here. His opponent's probably going to be just a little bit too fast for him.
I suppose.
But
I mean, you're going to have a lot of, like, all he really needed to do in that situation there was slow down like 2 or 3, like 2. You know, 2 of those.
Like, stopping 2 of those actions would have maybe been enough. Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
Like a verdict on 2.
Like, even like a
on
counter
3.
magic on one of the bolts was enough, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You never imagined that Hex is so imbalanced. Well, first of all, imbalance is actually an important part of trading card games. Balance is boring as all get out. Second of all, I think what you mean to be saying is that there are certain things, no troops and deals lethal damage in 5 turns. Nah, there were answers to that. There are a lot of things that answer that. So...
And the other thing is, if the games are lasting 5 turns, that's a reasonable time for the game to be ending. Like,
it's a little early. It's a little early.
It's a little early, but it's. I think that's okay.
Yeah,
I think. That's okay.
I mean, like, you want games that end on turn 5 just as much as you want 20 turn games.
Right. And like, he had multiple things that he could have possibly done. Like with the turn 5 kill, he definitely had multiple points where he could have stepped in and done something.
Yeah. Whether or not he had those cards is one thing or the other. And
Exactly.
I'm simply addressing the thought in chat. Like, there are two very serious points to go there, and I'm just to reiterate them. First of all, I do not think that imbalance in a trading card game is a bad thing. You do not want a balanced trading card game. You do not want cards that are statistical outliers by a huge margin, but you do not want every point of data on the map to make sense. Otherwise, you end up with a lot of 1-1s for 1, a lot of 2-2s for 2, a lot of 3-3s for 3, a lot of 4-4s for 4, and the game kind of gets stale.
Flat power level is
flat power levels are very boring, and you want spikes in what things do because it opens up interesting options. Second of all, I mean, that was an incredibly rare scenario of lethal damage on 5 with no troops.
right.
Also, to everyone who's whispered me in game, sorry to be less helpful than usual. You do need to whisper 5 shards in game to get access to a judge's attention here. So, Golden Saucer Guy putting up his card shield.
Yeah, so Golden Saucer Guy on the play here.
We have our own card guard up over his hand, right? Tech?
Yeah, we had it. Then I removed it when I see that he has it on again.
Okay. Well, now we see the turn 1 blood from Kalassar here.
Yeah.
And a Withering Touch.
Withering Touch turn 1. Not what I expected, but that actually gets... he gets to see... so this is information both players have now, so it's not worth not talking about it. There is a counter magic and a Crash of Beast, and he chooses to drop the counter magic.
Yeah, I think he's probably just going to try to push through damage and almost playing like a preemptive counterspell there. Yeah, we saw a very aggressive start from Kalassar in game 1, just going face with every single action that he had. Based on what we've seen so far, it seems like he might be going for that in game 2 as well.
Yeah. It's definitely a slower start for Kalassar here. But maybe it was just a fluke the way it worked last time? Like, maybe that's not the point of the deck. Maybe that's just what he had available that game, and he was like, well, I guess I go for it. And then it got there.
Just happened to have all my burn actions, so I might as well go for it.
Oh. So here we see the 3rd shard, and on turn 3, where the big plays start happening in Constructed, in my opinion, we see a Crash of Beast creating a 3/3 with Crush, and we see from Kalassar some thought put in here. Not sure what to do. Does he deal with the Rhino, or does he deal with something else? It looks like that Kraken Bolt's probably hitting the Rhino, and it does. Now, that's actually really good for GSG here, because that's trading a card for a card in a deck that just beat him by having just enough cards. Like, at the end of that last round, Kalassar had 1 positive card. 1 card left. So that's the situation there. He's traded his counter magic for a Withering Touch. He's traded his Crash of Beast for a Crackling Bolt. And now he's sitting at 4 cards while his opponent sits at 5. So Kalassar is still up in cards, but maybe the Cerulean Mentalist can change this. That will inspire all 3 and higher cost troops that enter the field withdraw a card. Again, if the Cerulean Mentalist draws out a single card from Kalassar, that's still a bonus. Just because, especially with those Crash Beasts going back into the deck and just being more potentially strong in the future, the long game here favors GSG based on what we've seen. On the flip side of the coin, Kalassar is not using Gozzig's Charge Power, which is a pretty good sign. Well, I say that and he uses it, right? What I would think normally is that there are Paladins and Acropolis hiding in the deck, and those are pretty strong ways to utilize the charge power of Gauzic to double up on that damage. So here's what I'm talking about. That second Crash of Beast hits the board, and now it's going to create 2 Rhinos. 2 Rhinos that got inspired by that Cerulean Mentalist, because the Rhino cards that are created are a 3 cost. So 2 3/3s with Crush that will draw a card when they deal damage. Regardless of what Kalassar has here, he is going to be trading either a very big action, like his kind of sacrifice to save the world kind of action, or multiple cards to save this board. Paladin the Necropolis isn't a good answer here. And it is
Paladin
what we
that
expect.
you predicted would be in the deck, though. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So now Gozig's charge power gets even better, because Gozig's charge power deals 1 damage for 2 charges to the enemy and heals Gozig himself for 1. But the Paladin in the Necropolis is every time you gain 1 health, or anytime you gain health, you deal 1 damage to your opponent. So you can gain 100 health in 1 turn, in 1 instance of health gain, but you still only deal 1 damage to your opponent. But that does make Gozig's charge power incredibly efficient. And even better for GSG here, gets the Buccaneer, doesn't necessarily trade a card for a card like we've been talking about, but does change the tempo of the game entirely. Now Kalassar on his next turn is going to have 6 cards in hand after his draw, but one of those is more expensive than it should be. In addition, GoldenSaucerGuy is now going to end his turn with 5 cards in hand, just slowly working into card advantage and board advantage at the same time. And Extinction is still brutal here, but anything short of that is probably not good enough to save this game.
Yeah, and it's interesting, too, to point out that on that turn 1 with the Withering Touch, he took the counter magic, but I don't think there's been a single turn where counter magic would have come into play, at least the way that the game has turned out so far. Yeah. But the Crash of Beasts has been definitely very relevant here.
Yeah. But I mean, you can't know that ahead of time. The reason to get rid of Crash of Beasts early would have been to lower, like, all escalation cards are valued because of their 4 of ability, and you almost exclusively play them in cards with more draw, because you want the ability to draw into them multiple times. Another Buccaneer here from GoldenSaucerGuy, and this turns the board from card advantage in, like, at this point, Extinction, which is the board wipe that Kalassar has access to in Blood Ruby, aside from, like, double Heatwave, does not put him back into the game. First of all, he's obviously taking 10 damage here. He's going to go to 3. He would actually be dead without his charge power, so Gozig's charge power doing work here. Second of all, 3 more cards going into GoldenSaucerGuy's hand here. In fact, if he can't play something, and he can still play a shard for the turn, although he's not snap doing that, which is weird, he is going to have to discard a card. He has so many. So, no shard played. 8 non... it's a turreted wall he discards there. It's kind of hidden behind his chat.
All right.
But trust me, my hex knowledge is insane. Yeah. See there, you minimized it. Boom.
Yeah, you got it.
Crackling Vortex puts Kalassar on 7 here. Is there...
Well, there's one wave.
There's the one heat wave that... A double heat wave is what he needed there. And if he has double heat wave, like I said, it doesn't fix this game. It does not fix this game, because GoldenSaucerGuy is now holding 7 cards in hand.
Yeah, since he obviously doesn't have Extinction there, it's hard to imagine. I mean,
he's still dead.
Yeah.
I guess he's just playing out the motions here just because.
Sure.
Wait, 3... Yeah, no, he's still dead. Yeah, there was nothing there. Oh, well. That's good, too.
Maybe you just
actually that's probably
show up another card, possibly.
That's probably a misplay. Oh.
Whoops.
That had to have been a mistake. With lethal on board there, I mean, like, what would have happened for those of you at home? Both rhinos would have attacked. The Cerulean Mentalist would have attacked. The Paladin and the Necropolis would have blocked a rhino, gained 1 health, dealt 1 damage. Kalassar would have gone to 5, 3 damage from 1 rhino, 2 damage from 1 mentalist. That would have been lethal. That being said,
Right.
even with 8 resources in hand here, Kalassar definitely needs a way to either deal 11 damage or, yeah, like Life Siphon's not enough here. You know, like, there's really nothing. Extinction was the only answer to this board.
Yeah, it pretty much had to be Extinction.
And what I was going to say about that is I actually think Extinction was a reason not to play that last Crash of Beasts. Like, obviously, I think maybe GSG just thought he was one, and he was like, haha, still got all these. Maybe, I don't know.
Or maybe he had another Crash of Beast in hand still too.
Yeah,
It's hard to say.
yeah.
But even that would
With
just
that
be
being said,
great,
like
'cause
3 Crash of Beasts in the top 20 cards of his deck, also pretty good.
that is true.
Like that's pretty good odds. Like, I mean, you could assume that each one of those is a unique Crash of Beasts, but even then, that's pretty good.
Yep. Looks like he's saying he'll take the play on game 3 here.
So that counter magic was not a big deal, and the Crash of Beast was. It would be interesting to have like the ability to watch that as if as if the line had gone.
Yeah, as many Crash of Beasts as ended up, like the biggest difference would have been if you use Withering Touch on the Crash of Beasts, then you have Crackling Bolt for the Mentalist, and then Golden Saucer Guy doesn't get to draw those cards. It's hard to say for sure what would have ended up happening because we don't know what order Golden Saucer Guy drew those in. Like maybe he just drew all the crashes off the top and it didn't matter anyway. But if the extra card draws did get him to the Crash of Beasts, that could have been enough to get the difference, but we'll never know. All right, and we see the next game starting here with Kalassar playing a Ruby off the top. Passing it back to Golden Saucer Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like he's going to play a Wild, and he has Acceleration here. He has Howling Brave. I don't think he's played Howling Brave yet, has he?
No, haven't seen that yet.
So here we see Kalassar playing a second Ruby. Could mean he's got a Ragefire. That is a Ragefire. And he does decide to go ahead and take out the Howling Brave.
So that. Like I said, that's probably a valuable exchange. But on the flip side, this is a valuable exchange for Kalassar, building up the escalation and getting rid of something at the same time.
Yeah, usually I think it's correct for most decks. If your opponent is playing Acceleration like Howling Brave or Puck or whatnot, then you usually want to go ahead and kill it on sight because they're probably going to do something bad with it. Especially if your removal is some kind of burn like the Ragefire is. Here we see another Blood from Kalassar.
It's a Withering Touch.
Withering Touch.
I mean, that seems like an awkward choice. That's actually a little different than the counter magic. I think if I'm Golden Saucer Guy here, I want you to remove my verdict.
Probably so. Yeah. Especially from what we saw on that second game there. I think I'd be happier if he took the verdict as well.
Looks like he hits the Crash this time. It goes to the grave.
Yep.
Yeah, he could definitely like hear a little bit of a dang it from Golden Saucer Guy there. Not thrilled with how it goes.
We do see the Ragefire going to the face, so the face damage is starting. the second time it's been cast, so it gets to deal 4 damage that time.
Played.
Here from GoldenSaucerGuy, he does have a shard, but it does not give him a resource this turn, so he's just going to pass the turn back again.
Hard to tell if he just doesn't have a troop or if he's choosing not to, or even better, what does that Howling Brave do for him here?
Well, Howling Brave's dead, right?
Yeah, well, but if he had it, like, was he looking to get to a 4 or 5 early?
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, we have no idea if he has what troops he might have in hand right now because of Withering. Well, we're gonna get another look at the hand. GoldenSaucerGuy says no. I'm gonna verdict you away.
Yeah, I suppose you play that as Kalassar anyway. Like, you're not going to hold on to it because you know the verdict's there now, and you would rather that a Withering Touch gets verdicted and you lose information than you play into something else. That's an Azure Fate Sorceress with Spell Shield, and when this troop deals damage to an opponent, create a Rhinoceros and put it into play.
Fun.
That's very interesting. So obviously the Howling Brave making a splash here, activating the thresholds for that. So now Kalassar's actions cannot hit Azure Fate Sorceress with the exception of a Heat Wave, which we've seen.
Yep.
So other than that, or an Extinction, I suppose.
Or an Extinction. Yeah, he could have Extinction here.
But trading either of those, there's the Heat Wave. Treating either of those for the Azure Fate is probably, like I mentioned before, just card advantage for GoldenSaucerGuy.
Yeah, but you got a Heat Wave there. There's no choice about that. That'll get out of hand for sure if you don't do that right away.
Mm-hmm. And obviously a spell-shielded Rhinoceros generating Wrathwood Mastamos would have been a little bit too much for most to deal with.
That would be pretty awesome. Yeah, Azure Fate gets paired up with Wrathwood Master Moss pretty often. I'm not sure I've seen many decks that don't have them together. They make quite the good combo. Here we see a Paladin of Necropolis coming down. The champion
Into
power
the Gauzic charge powers. Start picking off that 2 health at a time. That's an issue. That's like a really big issue for most decks to handle. Like 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage, and all of a sudden it's only 2 or 3 rage fires you need, not 2. So there's the first. So assuming that the Withering Touch hadn't been touched, this would be 3 rhinos on board.
Right. No, so, that's right.
I mean, now we're seeing the line from the other side here. Obviously, it was 2 Withering Touches this time, but I believe if he had chosen the verdict in the first Withering Touch, he would have then got the first Crash of Beast would have been played before the second Withering Touch could have happened. So probably Kalassar just stays on the defensive here. That Paladin of the Necropolis doesn't actually need to attack here. He can just either choose to block the Rhino with it for +1 damage onto the GFG, or he can hold on to basically anything.
Yeah, even though Kalassar has only got the 1 troop in play, this is actually really close at this point. It doesn't take a whole lot of burn to be able to burn out from... Basically, GoldenSaucerGuy is at about 10 health right now. You can figure 1 or 2 more activations off of the Paladin and or the champion there.
Yeah, and Ragefire has been played twice?
Ragefire has been played twice, so it would...
It's a 6 damage action for 2
6 damage action, yep.
Now, the charge power here signals a couple of things. No more troops in hand, or he would have played it before using the ability. Second of all, he needs to race.
Right.
So he's swinging here. Paladin is choosing not to block. So Kalassar goes to 7. Now, GoldenSaucerGuy has 2 cards in hand And I'm not sure how many cards he's drawn that we haven't seen. It's entirely possible that we're looking at him holding up a counter or a verdict here, which is ideal for him.
Right. Yeah, but if you're in Kalassar's spot, you pretty much have to go for it. If you
If you have a way to deal the damage here, you go for it.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you think about what order you do it in, and can you afford to play through one of them? But you do still have to go for it regardless here.
I agree.
So the attack makes sense, basically hitting the opponent for 2. Bring Kalassar back up to 8. So we see a burn. GoldenSaucerGuy says, nope, we're going to downvote that.
Did we downvote that?
We did downvote that.
Did we downvote that? Is that the card you downvote here?
I wouldn't. I would have waited.
I'd have let that hit me in the face.
Yeah, I'd have let the burn hit, but
Now the life siphon comes down for 3. Oh!
he has another one anyway. Okay.
Okay. Now with
That
no
makes
cards
more
in
sense.
hand. Well, actually, and Kalassar chose to attack before performing those actions. So he is going to be punished by that. He could have survived another turn.
Yep.
Now, he had no reason to assume that that was going to happen. He Withering Touched twice.
Right. Both of those had to be drawn afterwards. That's exactly right. But I mean, your opponent doesn't play anything. You know he doesn't have a troop. You know he's. It's reasonable to expect he has at least one counter.
Yeah.
But you're right. Ultimately, going for the attack first before going for the actions was pretty greedy.
Yeah. So that was a pretty good thing. Both of them exchanging a couple of little pleasantries there at the end. Nice to see the community being shown. Yeah, mistakes were made, Kalassar. No, we were pointing him out. I'm not trying to send any ill will, but you should have kept that Kaladin back. Yeah, a little bit of a misplay there.
Yeah.
But like we were saying, you also had no reason to believe that he had multiple ways to stop your actions because the Withering Touch... I mean, basically from what we saw on this end, he had to draw those 2 counters specifically aside from other cards he played. Yeah, there was no reason to believe he had 2 other counters. But
even if you put him on 2 counters, or even if you put him on 1 counter, it's still reasonable to go for the burn to the face first and the life siphon before you attack, just in case.
yeah. Well, but it was a good match. How much time do we have left?